Hey guys, welcome back to the Max Spence Business Podcast. Today I have a very special guest, but before I jump into that, if you guys like the content I'm putting out, the people I'm interviewing, please like, subscribe, leave a review. It helps out a ton with the podcast and also the people that are coming on the show. If you can go over to Apple Podcast and leave a review, that helps out a ton as well. So without further ado, today's guest is Robert Milling. So he's the founder of Wakefield Mill Hotel and Spa. It's great having you on the show, Robert.
Well, thanks a lot for having me, Max. It's a real pleasure.
Awesome. So why don't we jump into a little bit of an intro for people that maybe aren't familiar with the Wakefield Mill. How did the Wakefield Mill and hotel and spa come to be?
Well, Max, this is our 20th anniversary. We opened in 2001 as a 27-room property. It was a boutique hotel resort style. Located in a historic 6-story stone. We refurbished a stone mill beside a 28-foot waterfall. We're located in Wakefield, just 20 minutes north of Ottawa, and we're located inside the boundaries of the Gatineau Park, which is a fairly large park north of the nation's capital. We expanded a few times. We added on a spa by converting a penstock, basically a tunnel into the waterfalls. We created a spa in 2005. In 2009 through 11, we did a LEED certified second hotel on the site. It's the only LEED certified hotel in the nation's capital, and I think one of 2 in Quebec. So we're now a 42-room property, and as I say, we're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. One thing that I'm really interested in is I haven't had anybody on the show that has like a hotel or spa yet. So I'm interested to hear. So how is like that's a main thing, right? With COVID, affecting the, restaurants, bars, hotels, spas, all that sort of stuff. Like, how have you guys coped, and how have you sort of, have you had to change things? Like, how has it sort of affected you, COVID?
Well, we're now into the pushing the 11th month, I guess, of COVID, and it's been the biggest 11 months of change really in the history of the company. So when we first closed down, the day after we closed down, we just decided that we were dealt some lemons and we got to make lemonade. So that began a process from March 16th of last year through till July the 3rd, where we did a major renovation. We upgraded our rooms, our meeting spaces. We reconfigured office spaces. We redid the bar lounge and a fair bit of site work and landscaping work. So we opened on July the 3rd to it was a new hotel, and the summer of a very, very interesting and surprising summer. We're a fortunate property in that we're a boutique hotel in a country environment, as opposed to being maybe what I refer to as a downtown tower hotel. And so we had the good fortune of being very, very busy in the summertime. Along came the fall closures and the winter slowdowns, and we're just coming out of the winter slowdown right now. And we did the same thing again. We basically have decided to double down on the upgrades, knowing, or at least anticipating, we're anticipating a very big summer. We're anticipating a repeat of last summer. In fact, I think it's going to be not to put too fine a point on it, but I think people are going to go a little crazy. I think people are really looking to get out and just get out from under this.
Yeah, no, I understand, and I agree with you with that. Is like if you look at like previous recessions, and what happened was usually after a recession where people don't have that much money and it sort of comes out of it, and start having money again, the first thing that people start, like if you look at the Great Recession, a lot like spending in hotels and restaurants and the hospitality industry spiked like crazy. And I think it's going to spike again just because primarily those industries, you couldn't go out to a spa, and there was so much restriction with going out to a spa, going out to a bar, going out to a restaurant, right, or going to a hotel and getting away and being able to leave your house. Whereas like Ottawa right now, I'm not too sure is Quebec the same, but Ottawa right now, we're in a lockdown where, you know, a stay-at-home Ontario stay-at-home mandatory. So right, like that, like, and people are getting tired of it and they want to leave their house, right? So I think there's going to be, once the vaccine or something that comes out and is able to like stop COVID, I think there's going to be a huge spike in that hospitality industry. So I sort of want to talk to you now about, like, you know, a lot of like businesses, or like, you know, retail and hospitality actually you know, had to shut down, or they got crushed by COVID because all their business dried up. So why do you think that you guys, like, how did you guys execute so well that you guys were able to survive and weather the storm and come out the other side and being able to survive?
Well, we I guess there's a few key things and some realizations. You know, it's an amazing necessity being the mother of invention. So I guess the first big thing was the realization that collaboration was going to be a way of the future. And we decided early on to celebrate creativity. I'm of the view that the arts community is going to be celebrated when this is over. And we're kind of in the arts business. We're in the hotel business, but our chefs are artists, and you know, interior decorators are artists. There's creativity throughout. We have live music in weekend nights and that sort of thing. So it's part of the business that we're in. So we in April of last year collaborated with the owner of an art gallery and Art Mode Gallery, and proceeded to basically convert the property into an art hotel. And ironically, we haven't even had a chance to celebrate its opening in a formal, normal way, because even when we opened in July, we weren't allowed to have large gatherings. So to this day, it's been 9 months or so since we opened an art gallery, made a major change, which has been a huge success and hugely welcomed by our guests. We haven't even had a chance to formally celebrate that in a grand opening. But collaboration was the key. And so in that vein, we have been, excuse me for a second. In that vein, we have been working with a spa. We'll announce that shortly, but we've got a collaborative effort with a fairly well-known spa company. Catering is one. We're working with outside catering for our wedding business to expand that, because we've made expansions in our outdoor spaces that our kitchens are busy enough right now, so we are prepared to work with outdoor catering. We've worked with, and we'll be continuing to work with outside chefs and visiting chef programs, that sort of thing. So that was a big feature in what we looked at. As I mentioned, the notion of upgrading one's property, I do think that the customer experience, of the future will be discriminating. They will be looking for connection. There's no question, but I think businesses that have not made the effort to upgrade while they've been closed, would be advised to change course before they do reopen. I think that's very important. I think future guests will be looking for that.
Oh, okay. And what you previously said, there's a little bit of correlation, because you're saying in the 2008 sort of 2009 crash, I don't know if that hit you as hard as this crash has hit you, but you guys went back and said, you know what, we're gonna, like, you expanded and did the LED building, I believe. So
yeah. I mean, the impact of the financial crisis on our business was about 3 to 3.5% top to bottom. So it was very, very minor. This one here is, depending on the time of year, this one's been as high as 85 and 90%. So in the month of January, for example, which was the lowest of the low. Well, of course, April and May and June were zero, so we went from we were actually shut down. So I shouldn't say 85 or 90. I guess it would be 100% drop. So this one's much more severe. Yeah, we are absolutely of the view that you need to not. Don't let a good pandemic go to waste. Take advantage of whatever is available to us. And in light of doing an upgrade, for example, there's nothing more frustrating than trying to do an upgrade when you're full. So we're empty, and I'm sitting right now not too far from the construction site in our dining room. It makes that kind of a upgrade doable. We just finished 2 weeks ago building 10 private dining spaces all along the waterfalls and the riverbanks just outside the building. They're Starlight Chalets, and they're private heated dining rooms, lit at night, fireplaces, and they've been booked almost solid ever since, even in a slow time, because it's such a unique experience. But we had to do it because the dining rooms are closed. We're not allowed to serve, and people are looking for a private dining experience. So we're not afraid to make the changes. Well, we have to make the changes. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And instead of being like, oh, well, what are we going to do? You guys have taken it upon yourself and been very proactive at like, well, why not use this opportunity to start doing renovations that we've had in the schedule or something, which I love. So now jumping back to sort of, well, actually, sorry, one more question. What I wanted to talk to you about was quickly, have you guys put money into, let's say, becoming more a digital business by like, maybe marketing? Like, have you guys done marketing online, or did you revamp the website during this time? Or like, what other areas have you sort of put money into to sort of, or maybe pulled money out of and placed it somewhere else during the pandemic?
Yeah, it's a good question. We are going to be doing a complete overhaul of our website probably in about 3 months. We were waiting until a lot of these finishes were completed. So that's the next phase. We have we've got a fairly active footprint in social, on Facebook. We've got I guess we've invested in video, content. There's still more to come. There's a bunch of software related changes that continually are kind of a work in progress. And we work with so many outside sales channels that I really couldn't answer that very quickly for you.
Yeah. So okay, so that's interesting. So you guys are deciding to revamp the website, and then also with working like with a lot of different sales and marketing companies. So now jumping to, I sort of want to get some advice for, like, let's say somebody like, I'm 20 years old, and let's say somebody else who's maybe my age and is like, listening to this, and they say, they have a dream of opening their own hotel and spa. What advice would you have for that person in their early 20s about how you did it? Because when you started it, you must I believe you're probably were you in your 20s most likely?
No, you're too generous. I was in my mid 30s when I first started the program. I guess the hotels are a very high barrier to entry from a capital perspective. However, the way to get around that would be through leasing arrangements. So the advice going forward, I guess, would be to be careful. I do think it's not an obvious marketplace. I would suggest that you start with your passion and your unique selling proposition and grow from small. I think uniqueness of the experience is going to be the secret to success for everybody going forward. It's going to be dangerous times for mainstream. It has been and will continue to be. I mean, there's certain niches within the travel industry that work well with branded properties that are very, very, very ordinary in terms of experience. They're just consistent branded places to stay. That's a bit of a different story, though.
Oh, okay. And like, have you guys, been doing like, have you guys done any market research or anything of that nature, looking at like what is the customer looking for in now, like in the 2020s? Is there anything that they're looking in for particular? I know COVID is like an exception, but once like, let's say everything's rolled out and the vaccine's out, is like, have you guys been seeing a trend at all? Like, are people looking more for like, spas, or is there still like, for like very unique type of hotels that which you guys have, right? Is like you can't, like, it's not like a Hilton hotel. It's like you go to your place and there's only one of them around, right? And it's very unique. Like, have you seen a trend for more unique hotels and spas, or is the trend more still with maybe like the very like cookie cutter like hotel and spa sort of commercial business model?
Yeah, and I think the biggest trend is location. So the the reality right now is that people can't travel. So there's by extension a local focus. So clearly our marketplace in the Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal area is, we've got a captive audience. They're not going to Europe or Africa or take your pick. They're forced to be at home. So we've seen a quite a large expansion of our market, but it's all local. People are looking for nature. The town of Wakefield itself this summer and this winter, the Gatineau Park in particular has been a huge destination for people, and whether they're dog walkers or cross-country skiers or whatever, I mean, people are getting back to nature in a fairly big way. I think the biggest thing, though, that we're seeing is, I like to describe it as it's about connection. Our customer base is very, very largely built around celebrating special occasions, particularly anniversaries and birthdays, and so that connection piece is real. I would describe our business as going from a discretionary want before COVID to a necessary mental health need or health need in general. And it shows up in these good old-fashioned, almost cliches, people holding hands, people smelling the roses, people just going for walks and being with each other. So that has been a huge change. I would say that's by far the biggest trend that I've seen is this need for connection. At the corporate level, we have not seen that. That's the biggest impact on our business. We do in a given year, we do like 1,000 business meetings perhaps, and of course that market has disappeared. So we've invested in technologies to make meetings better so that they can be more flexible. So we may have a circumstance, and we do have circumstances where small groups, it might be 10 people booking, but 2 people don't want to come because they don't feel safe. And so the technology that we've invested in allows them to participate in a planning session and do so comfortably. And so they don't feel like they're missing out, but the 8 people who do want to get together and have FaceTime are able to do so.
Oh,
That's, you see what I mean? Yeah.
okay.
It's kind of like an extended, yeah, it's a enhanced Zoom technology, basically.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah. So pretty much you guys are more like on the, like let's say like the couple sort of side of it, and then you have your wedding, and then you have your business events and stuff. So it's a little bit different from well, yeah, of course it would be different from, let's say, like a like a regular hotel where people are just staying there because they need to stay there for, because they have work or something, whereas people want to come to your place to have that unique experience of being able to spend it special, like spend that time specially with somebody that they love, or have an interesting corporate retreat or something like that, instead of like going to like just a regular hotel. So now I want to talk, I want to get an interesting sort of your take on it, is like, let's say if you were in, like let's say you were back to being 20 or in your early 30s, or when you were starting this business, and you let's say you didn't have a hotel or anything, or the spa or what you have now, what would you look for if you were starting it? Like, where would you go, and what would you look for to start your, a hotel and spa business? Would you sort of keep it the same, or would you change things up in today's sort of world and what you're seeing right now with the changes of the industry?
Um, well, I think it's fair to say that you could do well with a more casual offering at lower cost entry points. Glamping is an obvious place that one might want to look at. We're not ruling it out here. We have 20 acres on our site, and
And
we're actually looking at it quite actively.
Robert,
Um,
just quickly, could you, like, for people like that, people that may have never heard of glamping before, could you just quickly explain that to the audience that's listening?
Oh, yeah, sure. Of course, yeah. Glamping being a condensed version of glamorous camping. So glamping is a reasonably high-end experience where but your capital cost is reduced somewhat, and it might take the form of small cabins. It could be tree houses. It could be tents, geodesic domes. Take your pick. There's a variety of ways in which the accommodation experience is identified. But it's rented out like on a short-term stay basis. So I would, that might be part of it. I think the authenticity around farm agro-based activity is real. There's room for that. I do strongly believe that there's room for experiential-based offerings that would involve art and creativity. And so, to that end, we're actually looking to work on all three of those legs of the stool. So I guess that's where I would go. There are some successful stories of refurbishing motels that have, kind of make them funky. And they have there's room for that in a pricing. It comes down to a pricing model that hopefully can work for folks. Locate in the business we're in, location is very, very important, and proximity to a large urban market I would suggest, is fairly important. But again, it's all a function of what your needs might be. I mean, the back end of Cape Breton Island with a short season might work for you if you've got another source of income, or you've got extremely low operating costs. This is a business, I should say, this is a business that's got fairly low margins and fairly high fixed costs. So people have to be aware. You got to go in. You want to be careful getting into this type of business. You want to go in with eyes wide open.
Yeah, no, and that's very understandable, right? Is like, this isn't something that you sort of just jump into. It's a very legit business, and you have to understand the, like you're saying, like any the restaurant industry and the hotel industry. It's like very, very tough business to operate in, and that's what I find really interesting, is like you guys have been successful for 20 years, right? And it's not easy to do, right, to be successful in that type of industry where you see businesses in general where they fail in the first, year, 5 years, 10 years, right? And you guys have been operating for 20 years. And then you're also operating in a tough market as well, as like with being like the hospitality market. So now to jump to what like I know we're actually coming to the end here, but I sort of want to get a little bit other advice. Like, what other advice would you give to somebody that's looking to sort of start into this business? I know you said you need to understand like this low margins, high fixed costs, and really understand what you're getting into. But what other advice would you have, and what also has been the best moments of actually running this business?
Well, I guess maybe to the second part first. Some of the best moments. It's a business that does can give you a lot of joy in terms of the creative aspects of it. The human story, I guess, is probably the most subtle but longest lasting benefits I found. We have a lot of folks who've worked with us over the years, and I particularly enjoy the stories involving people who work here and it was their first job, and maybe it paid their way through university. Quite a few stories of that where people's universities have been paid for, and they've been with us for 5 or 6 or 7 years. And that's a nice piece. I have to admit that it gives me a great degree of pleasure. I do find the business when we successfully challenge our guests and bring them to places they haven't been before, and that's mostly on the food side. I mean, we've made some menu choices that have been on the edge, and people may not have had them before, and it's a pleasure to see them come back and say, oh, never did that before, and they love it. It changed their view on things. So I have to say I do appreciate that. But to the second part of your question about advice to youth getting involved, really, it's trying to let that business. You have to let the business wash over you. You really, I can't stress enough the one's capacity to adapt to change, one's ability to roll, and particularly in these days to change, to appreciate the nature, the multifaceted nature of the guest experience is not obvious for folks. I mean, you really have to. For some people, you have to get out of your any predetermined ideas you might have about what you think works, and have an open mind.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like adaptability and having that open mind and not being set in sort of like a certain way is key, right? To being successful in any business, right? Is being able to adapt and having an open mind to change. I sort of wanted to talk for a second before we go. Is interestingly on your menu, you're talking about trying different things. Like what type of things did you try with like the changing up of the menu?
I was afraid you'd ask me that. We've. I think I'm old enough now. We have something. I think I've sat through 60 some menus just for dinner over the course of time. So I'm it's a lot of items. I guess some that come to mind. Oh boy. I mean, we were one of the, we got back into things like a long time ago, but we got into, it's more mainstream now, but it wasn't at the time. Various tartares, various carpaccios. We reintroduced foie gras in a different fashion a long time ago, and kind of were one of the first that did that in the region for quite some time. It could be, it could be ways that we've done some wild game we've done ostrich, and we've done a variety of wild games from partridge. We had one year we served Madame. We did a special meal for Madame Clinton. Hillary Clinton was here. It was an international gathering, and so partridge was on the menu, and that became a very popular menu item for about 8 or 9 months. Everybody wanted to have the partridge, and a lot of folks had never had it before, and so that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. That
I guess it would be. Yeah,
No, I
sure.
absolutely love that. So, like, is that like one of the like appeals that you guys try and strive for with the business is like having that interesting menu? Like you guys are gonna have like if like let's say if you go to any other hotel, it's gonna be pretty much like like normal hotels. You might be like it's gonna be a normal sort of food, but like there's very few places where you can go and stay at your location, for example, and you can have like an interesting sort of food selection of like all this wild game and different sort of dishes that you guys produce. Is that something that you guys focus on, or is it something that's just adapted over time?
Oh no, that's been the ruling ethos since day one. We have never really, particularly for the dinner menu, we've focused on food that you really would never make at home. So it'd be just too hard to make at home. So that's the. Otherwise, we kind of view the philosophy as why bother? I mean, people can make it at home, then So. While it might be a certain, it might be a type of steak, it's just, the sauces are done in such a way that it's pretty tough to, good cooks can replicate it, but it's things that people typically don't make at home. It's been our philosophy. We've chosen not to go the way of signature dishes, where we have one that is an all-time crowd favorite. And we keep it. We do change almost 100% of our menu, no, 100% every 3 times a year. So it has changed a little bit. I must say, during COVID, we have tightened our menu to about 60% of what it used to be, for just for cost reasons, and it made sense, and the customers were fine with it.
Oh, okay, awesome. And actually, I love that a lot. Is like what you were saying is like you guys focused on as day one of making food that you can't make. It's not you can just make it at your house. Like, and I love that like you guys specialized into making like really delicious food. So I know we're coming to the end here. Is there anything else you want to add? Any other advice that was like sort of top of mind that you wanted to give out to, about the spa and the hotel and sort of the hospitality industry at all to like, the younger generation or somebody that's looking to start?
Well, I guess I would say that, it's going to be, there are going to be industries that will have changed radically. There will have been more changes in the last 12 to, and by the time this is finished, 18 months, that you might not even recognize the landscape that much. There's going to be an awful lot of closures. We're seeing it already, of course, on the restaurant side. I think there's going to be an awful lot of closures on the hotel side as well. The whole travel industry is turning upside down, and so you can look at it in one of two ways. You can look at it as a glass half empty or a glass half full, and I'd suggest that people look at it, with an eye to opportunity, because there's no question in my mind there will be a lot of opportunity for those who do want to go into business. Absolutely. It's going to be probably more than ever before.
Yeah, no, and I actually think that's a great point with like, when there's always a big market shakeup, those are the best times, right? Like as you've seen in like different, previous, like with the 2008 crash and like other things in the 2000 boom and like all that sort of stuff, right? It's like when there's a huge turnover in a certain market segment, there's usually a lot of opportunity in that market segment. You just have to be very creative when you go into it, because you pretty much have to create a new business model with everything changing, right? Like the old one is probably not going to work just as good because, you know, with everything that's changed and everything that's happened, and like people are looking for a new thing, right, in that sort of market. So you have to be creative and you have to adapt. So yeah, coming to the end here, where can people find out more about you guys? You know, if they want to book, like, I don't know, like to come to your hotel, if they want to do like a corporate getaway, the wedding, all that sort of stuff, like where can they find out more about that?
Oh, well, that's just you know, the internet, of course. I mean, wakefieldmill.com is the is our web page address, and you know, we've got a lot of folks that that can help out in the sales department or at reception. So I guess when the lockdowns are over, you know, a lot of folks just come by and they just, you know, I'd recommend people just drop in for a cup of coffee, and it's only 20 minutes from downtown Ottawa. So a lot of folks just do that. They'll just drop in and get a business card or get a pamphlet. Believe it or not, some people still use paper. And then they make their decision after they've had a site visit. So
Okay, awesome.
that would be,
And then another thing too is like, you know, because the majority of my listeners are younger. Is there any, you know, that they might be wondering, is there any opportunities to, like, do you guys have any employment opportunities right now, or any positions open, or is everything sort of full at the moment?
Yeah, actually, you know, that's a very good, thank you for asking. That's a great question. So I predict that we will be hiring 40 to 50 people by the time we get to the end of July. We'll start, so they could be, they'll range from almost in equal numbers. We'll have probably 4 or 5 kitchen openings. We'll probably have 4 or 5 in housekeeping, 10 or 15 in on the service side, reception. We'll have probably 10 positions open in the spa. Those are specific positions from massage therapy through aesthetics and some reception. So there's, there'll be quite a few openings. So people should, if they're interested, look into it. Again, I would recommend that you actually come to the site as opposed to sending a letter, because you'll be asked right away to come to the site. Just because, you know, you have to realize you have to have your own vehicle. We're not on a public transit system, is one of our key items. So that does not work for folks who don't have a car. You know, there's carpooling is possible, but it's awkward for a lot of folks.
Oh, okay. Well, awesome. That's great to hear. That, you know, you guys are gonna have some great opportunities for people in employment. But yeah, guys, I highly recommend that you go check out pretty much Wakefield Mill Hotel and Spa. And yes, thank you very much, Robert, for coming on the show. It's been amazing speaking with you.
Well, thank you, Max, and good luck. It was a real pleasure. Thank you.